Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs. I'm Sue, and you've just stepped into Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Every week, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine, a remarkable entrepreneur who's not just changing the world, but also harnessing a secret weapon, time outdoors. Together, we'll dive into their journey, unpack invaluable business advice, and discover why embracing the wild is not just good for the soul, but also a goldmine for inspiration and innovation. Ready to uncover the secret that's boosting bottom lines and fueling joy? Hit subscribe and join us in the wild. Welcome to Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Today is a treat and we're headed outside. Of course, where else would we go? I've got Stacy Maxon and she's got some very, very cool stuff going on. A fantastic business, and this is pretty cool, especially for any of you who are like, I wish I could do something outside. Well, this is that. Welcome to the show, Stacy. Would you please introduce yourself and your business?
Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Stacy Maxon. I am the CMO of Fireside RV Rental. I got started in the RV rental industry about 5 years ago. Prior to that, I've kind of always camped and RV'd my whole life. So it's always been a passion of mine. And my husband and I started renting out our own personal RV and had a lot of success with it. And I saw kind of what it did to people in our area, you know, that excitement of them getting outdoors, and I wanted to figure out how I could do that on a day-to-day basis. So I found the Fireside RV Rental franchise opportunity, and my husband and I decided to buy into that to have our own RV rental business.
That's really cool. So when did you do that?
That was in 2019. So we built the business up. We had about 20 units that we rented out, and you know, people would rent them and go to local places. We're in upstate New York, so Lake George is really popular in the Adirondack area. So we delivered a lot up there, and then people too would come to us and, you know, rent an RV and travel cross country. And we were able to hear all the stories of their adventures when they returned, and I just learned to love it. It was amazing.
That's so cool. It's kind of like having an Airbnb, except they go away. Like they come back, and you know. So it's like you're not doing necessarily the day-to-day, hey, let me make sure you've got towels and all this kind of stuff. It's a little bit of a tweak on, you know, renting out a home or some sort of permanent structure that you have. How has this been for your family?
It's been amazing. So prior to us starting this venture, my husband was in the corporate world for the last 16 years. And then once we had our own business, it really gave us, you know, the flexibility and opportunities to travel more. I think, you know, being in this business, you have to practice what you preach. So you have to use that RV, get out there and adventure. So you have stories to tell your renters. You know, you want to tell them the best places to camp and tips on how to operate the camper. So, you know, since we've been doing this, my husband and I, with our 3 kids, we've visited 18 states in our camper. And we've just gotten to see so many different national parks. And, you know, my youngest, he's 5 now. Like, what 5-year-old has visited 18 states so far?
Awesome. Do you have the little map that has the, you know?
Oh, of course.
You got it. That's so cool. I love that, though. It's like, so I'm imagining your husband, you know, in corporate life, it's not like they exactly ring the bell and let you out for recess. Like, you're just indoors all day. What's it been like? Like, how has this impacted, you know, like how your life is with this, where now you have kind of mandatory fun, you know, get outside?
Yeah, well, I mean, before, like I said, we always owned an RV, but we never really got to use it as much as we wanted to because you had that limited amount of time of paid time off. So any places that we did go camping would have to be locally because we couldn't travel back and forth. So I'm in upstate New York, and since we've had the business, we've been able to travel to Florida and Tennessee, Kentucky and Maine, and have been really able to venture and visit more places. And I feel like exposing the kids to that at such young ages. Like, I feel like that's going to make them be more adventurous as adults. Like, I never got that opportunity when I was a kid. So it just is so exciting to me to see how they're going to, be as grown-ups and where that's going to take them.
Oh, that's cool. And I would imagine too, they're going to have this built in, like, oh, wait a minute, being outside, this is a part of normal life. Like, they might not have that. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs, it's like we get the entrepreneurial bug, we go head down, and it's like by the time we look up, what are you going to go out in the middle of the night? No, like that practice of being outdoors all the time. You're normalizing that for your kids, which is really cool.
Yeah,
and then also the whole way that it's like you designed this whole new, like, okay, we're retiring you from the office. This is the life that we want. Was that scary that's a big jump.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even as a whole, like all of our family and everything, they're just like, what are you doing? Like you have this job with a 401k and, your health insurance. And, when we made that leap, like everyone thought we were crazy. And now, 5 years later, they're like, oh, of course you did that. Like once they saw how successful we were, then it was like they jump on board. But yeah, in the beginning, everyone questions what you're doing.
Your sanity. Yeah. Now are they like, hey, will you show me how you do what you do?
Oh yeah. I mean, we have family members, friends of the family, everything. They're always like asking, to rent an RV and always referring us to people where, before they didn't even, get what the business was. So yeah, it's definitely spread.
That's really cool. It's like you're an evangelist for entrepreneurism outdoors, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool. What drives you, Stacy?
I mean, just my family, for sure. Like I said, having this lifestyle has just led us to so many opportunities that I wouldn't have been able to give them before. Last winter, we spent it at Key West. They were able to feed sharks. We went on, boat rides, and then we went to Tennessee and visited the Smoky Mountains. So really that just feeds my soul, like being able to experience all of these new things. We haven't really been able to head out west much. So I think that's, driving me now is, the more successful we are in business, the further and further we can explore.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. So we have a place in the Smokies. We bought 35 acres, planning to build an entrepreneur retreat center. So, and I had looked at RVs there, but I'm like, so there's a big creek, there's pasture, and then it's really hilly after that. So really the only suitable place would be the pasture, but we're in a flood zone. So I'm like, that's probably not a good idea. We'll be able to build it up enough for people's cars, but I'm like, oh, I don't know. But how would somebody so some people who will be seeing this have property, some don't, some are just entrepreneurial. We're actually connected loosely to Mark Jenny, who was, I think, RV Share. I think that was him. Yeah. And he's done phenomenally. Now he's doing like these massive compounds where you can just rent like this house that'll sleep 18 people or something in a big playground, all this kind of stuff. But so if somebody's kind of thinking, maybe this is the way that I want to have some sort of entrepreneurial endeavor that's going, helping people be outside, what should they, how do they know if they're a fit, if this is a fit for them?
Yeah. So, I mean, the way we got started is we owned, property, and we were able to actually just store the RVs on site, and then people would rent them out. So that's one opportunity. And I think if you own like a bigger area of land, you can have a glamp site or, on-site RV rentals where you have like that whole, you could have 10 sites with the RV rentals on them, and then people just come in to rent out the RV and have the whole experience of a campground as well. So there's a lot of different ways you could get started. If anyone had any questions specifically, they could reach out to me. I love to hang out on Instagram, so they could find me there and I could answer any questions specific to their situation.
That's great. That's great. What's your daily, like your day to day? What does it look like? What are you, I can't even imagine. What's it like?
Well, I mean, one of the main things is, getting customer inquiries for reservations. And really I can do that on my phone. So no matter where I'm at, as long as I have self-service, I can always do that part of my job. So I've done that many a times at a campground or, even, we're taking a hike and I just stop and get a sip of water. I'm like, oh, I got an email. I got to respond to that. And then my husband, he actually got certified as an RV tech. So he handles like all the maintenance and repairs on the RV rentals. So working together with a spouse, I found it's really helpful to have those separate jobs and kind of be in charge of them, so that we can live and work together well.
Happily.
Yes.
That's really smart. And I guess that probably was a big, a little bit of an adjustment, at least a little bit. What was that like going from he's off at work and now all of a sudden you're home together working on this same project?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely difficult because it was during the whole COVID period as well. So we started the business in 2019 and then he started staying home in 2020 and then we went all in on the business. And we homeschooled our kids at that time too. So 24/7, it was him, I, and our 3 kids. It was definitely a learning curve. And I think that's where we found that, if we split up the jobs and we each do what we're best at, it was a good way for us to work together. And, then just the traveling too, like finding fun ways to get outside and do things as a family was really a way to get us away from some of the day-to-day of the business and bond and have quality time together as a family as well.
That's great. It's so smart that you were able to kind of mix in the fun with it, because otherwise I could see your kids going, we hate RVing.
Yeah.
This is what my mom and dad do all the time. They're always working on it.
Yeah,
do you have to do your own marketing, or do you have, how does that work?
Yeah, so with the Fireside franchise, they actually have a whole marketing staff. So they do the marketing, but like locally, when we had our franchise, we built relationships with local campgrounds, local businesses, and did like fairs and festivals. One of our franchises in Georgia, she's big into NASCAR, so she actually sponsors one of the drivers. So yeah, and she gets to go to like all these NASCAR events. She gets to like be in the pit, and I don't know a lot about NASCAR, but she gets like all these backstage type passes. So really, I mean, it depends on, what you enjoy, but you can kind of mix that into your business so that you can do, a little bit of both.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great. That's great. Because some people have that strength and some don't. And that's great that there's some that could be done for you. There's some you're going to have to do. And I love that creative partnerships thing. That's got to be really fun. I can see her in the pit, changing the tires, right? Man. So I always ask people, like, how do you outside? Like, what do you do? Do you find that your best thoughts come to you while you're outside? And what do you do? Especially now that it's cold up in New York State. I have so many questions all at once. So we'll break them down a little bit, but I'm going to want to know, like, how do you do it outside, when it's kind of cold and nasty out? And
I definitely say that is a struggle being in upstate New York. I always try to plan a couple trips down south during the winter, so we can spend more time outside. The kids love exploring and swimming, so you definitely don't want to be doing any swimming up here in the winter. But yeah, we love to hike, especially like finding waterfalls. And I do that a lot with my 3 kids, and just I do find that's when my best ideas come from me. Like sitting at a desk, like you're just not, your imagination isn't working. You're focused on the task at hand, and like getting outside and just exploring, your mind just comes alive.
That's awesome. That's great. Any tips for people who've got kids, especially them? Like, so entrepreneurs, they're working head down. It could be day, night, but they haven't gone outside. And they'll say, I don't have time, or I've got kids, I don't have time. Well, there's all kinds of variations of that. How would you like shoo somebody out the door and say, get out there?
Yeah, I mean, I can do a lot of computer work. So every day, I like to do it during the middle of the day, like just go for a walk. Like it doesn't matter where you are, like you can just walk down the road, a sidewalk, a street, in the woods, whatever it is. Just get outside every day and go for a walk. Even if you don't want to be active, like put a hammock outside at your house and and just go out there, read a book. Like I'm doing one of those like every day. During the winter, it's a lot more difficult, but we still go outside and hike. It's just going to be a shorter amount of time. And, with the kids, just be prepared, like make sure you have plenty of snacks and, things for them to do. We like to do little games like scavenger hunts and things when we're on hikes to keep them so that they're engaged and not bored. Or like I mentioned, like visiting waterfalls, like things that are, going to pique their interest.
Yeah, sure. When the destination is kind of the, the carrot that you're, hey, there's a waterfall, keep walking. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
What do you see the future being? What do you want to do? Is this a long-term thing? Do you have a big plan for this is phase one. Now we're doing like, what's it like in your brain? What are you looking at for the future for this?
No, I mean, we're obsessed with the outdoor industry now. I think that's something that we're always going to be a part of. Our end goal is we would love to have our own campground, something that our family is working on together. All 3 kids are working in the campground and my husband and I, and just being outside all the time. We could never go back to the corporate world where we're just stuck in a cubicle all day. Like there's no way I could do that ever.
Once you have that freedom, you're not going back in the cage, right?
Yes, that is for sure.
Man, that's great. Well, before I have you tell us, where people can find you more and give your Instagram handle and all that, any parting words for people who might be, parting words of advice for people who are looking to have a little bit more outside time and maybe they're also kind of eyeballing some sort of outdoor related business. Anything that you could pass along?
Yeah, I mean, I think with any business, it's scary, but you just have to get started. Just think about your passions and what excites you and just go all in on it. It doesn't have to be all at once, but one little step at a time. Start planting those seeds so that you can have that business and live the lifestyle you want. You don't want to live your life with someone telling you what to do all the time. Having my own business, we've had the freedom and flexibility to travel and just create so many memories with our family. Like I hear so many times people are like, oh, well, we're going to go travel when we're retired. No, like I wanted to experience that with my kids and seeing like their eyes light up when they saw, Niagara Falls or, seeing the Smoky Mountains. Like that's something you can't buy. Like, it's just an amazing experience and I want that for everyone. So you just really have to set aside the fear and just do it.
That's fantastic. I love that. Well, the next time you're in the Smokies, you got to come on down.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God. It's such a beautiful area. I love it.
It really is. It's so gorgeous there, man. Thank you. All right. So where can people find you?
Yeah. So, I mentioned before, I love to hang out on Instagram. So it's Stacy Maxon. And yeah, there's tons of different tips on entrepreneurship and RV rentals. And just send me a message and I'd love to chat with you. Beautiful.
You heard her. Send her a message, guys. I know you want to go out and, come on, ditch this screen time all the time. Way better to get outside. Thank you so much for coming and joining us and telling us all about it.
Thanks so much for having me.